Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, as you can see by a thumbnail, you guessed it, we're going to go over my deck and my experience at the Hardened Richmond on Arachne. Overall did pretty well, definitely some stuff to build on, some things to learn from, and kind of go from there. But we're going to go over each matchup, each round, talk about the goods and the bads, and hopefully give you some more insight on how I feel the deck is doing in the current meta. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. If you want to, feel free to check out my Discord down below for access to a great community doing a lot of cool stuff, coming up with the new set. Really fun, judgment-free place to be. And to everyone in the Discord, y'all been great being super active. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can continue that going into the new set. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. If you've been watching the content for a while and you're not subscribed, maybe think about it. But if you are and you want to support the channel in a different way, check out the channel membership down below for access on ways to help support the channel with different tiers and stuff like that. So we'll get right into it. So bottom line, I went 4-3 on Arachne at the Hardened Richmond. Ended up placing whatever, like 31st out of it was just under 100 people, nothing crazy. But I was one game away from 5-2, which would have been really cool. We're going to talk about each round. Overall, I think I played pretty well. My losses that we'll get into here in a second, my main goal whenever I go into a battle hard, no matter who I'm playing, no matter what my goal is, whether I'm really trying to make top 8 or I'm just having some fun, is to not have losses based off like mistakes or based off something that I did just completely incorrect, right? We all have plays that we make that probably aren't optimal at the time. And obviously I can't remember every little maybe minor inefficiency I did, but everyone knows games they've had where you lost based off a misplay, right? You blocked improperly or you missed a trigger or what have you, right? I didn't have any of those, and that was super big for me. So we'll talk about the matchups pretty briefly, and then I will go into the deck and some of the choices I made and why I made it. So round 1 out of 7 was Dawnblade Dory. Super fun matchup. The matchup's really interesting. I don't think it's favored one way or another. I truly think it's a little 50-50. Maybe if you played the game 100 times, maybe it's actually slightly favored into Dory. Even with all the defense reactions that Arachne has, Dory can just really set up and go off. And once they get a couple counters, like 2 counters on their Dawnblade, it doesn't matter, right? It's really hard for you to really stop them. And a lot of the Dory matchups are very, very hard to mess with. So I thought it was going to be a Hatchet Dory. My siding isn't too much different without that, right? Basically, what I bring in is Inertia Traps and Oasis anyway. So nothing really changes too much. Yeah, that's about it. And then I bring in Scale Peeler in the matchup no matter what. So that's my side in. So I'm running like 64, 67 cards, and then I take out the Spider's Bite for the Scale Peeler. So it ended up being a Dawnblade. They were very disciplined on their boots. The first thing I normally try to do, it's almost like a skill test with the Dorinthia, is you shouldn't ever block a naked Dawnblade Dory for when they swing with their Dawnblade for 3. But I, also just on purpose will never block that and see what they do, right? Are they going to pop boots early and try to get a little greedy and take tempo by trying to get a counter? And he didn't. There's a couple times where he swung for 3 and I said no blocks, or he swung for 4 off like a pump or something. I said no blocks, and he just got the 4. I took the 4, and then he just said pass. So did some really cool stuff there, but overall we were able to get it towards the end of the game. It was really close. We had like 5 minutes left on the clock, and I forgot what he did on his turn exactly, but I played an attack into Codex. I was able to give it a go again, then play Codex, and I went and got like a Leave No Witnesses or something. I think he blocked it out, and he went down to 2 or 3 or something like that, and I could tell he went and got a CNC with my Codex and a discard, and then he blocked out my attack, and I could tell by the way he blocked, he probably had an Iron Song Determination in hand. He was trying to hold, it seemed like, 1 extra card to be able to play that Determination. And on his turn, he played Iron Song Determination into Dawnblade, but the problem with that was he forgot about the Frailty. I guess he wasn't accounting for that when he did his blocks. So instead of and it had a counter on it. So instead of coming in for 5 Dominate, it came in for 4, and I had my Mask of Perdition up with a block counter. I drew into an Oasis anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered, but I was able to block out 4 and hold that Oasis for a pitch on my turn, and then I was able to reaction my way and take that. So we won round 1 with minutes to spare. Really close game, really fun. Shout out to the Don Blade Dory. I forgot your name. I'm so sorry. But we ended up playing. So we were 1-0 on the day. And when it comes to Battle Hardened, getting that first win, the first round is the biggest thing, right? Whether you're trying to make top 8 or just trying to place well, getting that first win really helps your breakers. So we were feeling really good. Round 2, we played a Kayo. We ended up losing that one. So they were on, every Kayo I played was on the new chess piece, even though it like just came out, Savage Sash, and the new blues. This Kayo, like, I never want to ever blame High Roll, right? They drew their cards, they played their game, right? But their worst turn, I remember it specifically, was Yellow Wild Ride into Claw into the new blue. So their worst turn was 13 damage, 5 into 3, which is 8, and then 8 into another 5, which is 13. That was their worst damage turn the entire game. They played a Savage Sash turn that was like, they rolled scabs when they had a Blood Rush in hand, which was insane, and they of course got a 6. And they were able to do something like Savage Sash into Savage Feast for free, into Claw, into the new blue or something like that. It was insane. Like, it was like a Blood Rush turn that was, and then they had 3 attacks with Claw, so it was close to like almost 30 damage, pretty much. Insane. Nothing I can do about that. I don't care how efficient my deck is at blocking. You're not winning that game, right? So I ended up losing that game by a lot. It was like 0 life to like, I don't know, 17 or something like that. It is what it is. KO does KO stuff. That deck is insanely powerful. Savage Sash is a huge upgrade to that deck. Those blues are a huge upgrade to that deck, and I expect KO to do pretty well moving forward, unless Misveil changes something. So we're 1-1. We then played Fatigue Bravo. I'm not going to go much in this matchup. I never want to tell people their deck's not fun, but that deck was very interesting. Shout out to that player. Hey, you play the deck you play, right? It's just me being salty. But they were on Sync's Fates, of course, right? So 60 reacts. Red unmovables, that's 9. I think they were on blue unmovables, 12. They were on red and blue staunches, 18. Then they were on Peace of Mind. So that's basically 21 reactions. And they were on 3 sigils and 3 Blessing of Patience. So in the course of that game, they gained 18 life, and they were on 3 remembrances. So they brought back 9 cards. And we still, they were in control, but they had like 11 cards in their deck, maybe 10 or a little bit less, maybe 9, and I had like 3. So after them bringing back 9 cards and gaining 18 life, we still almost could get there, because the only way you win that matchup is if you pitch stack your surgical extractions and you somehow stay in card parity, and then you both are like, let's just say in the teens in life, and then you say, okay, surgical extraction, coercive, next turn, surgical extraction, coercive, shred, right? And you're both, because they're like, let's say 6 cards, they have to overblock, and you literally take all the cards from their hand, and then off of 3 surgicals, you're basically able to deck them, and they came and swing their hammer, and they just lose because you dagger them a bunch of times. That's the only out in that matchup, and that's what we were shooting for. We couldn't quite get there. So 1 and 2, that matchup is almost a near auto loss. I wasn't even upset by it. I was just upset by the matchup in general. It is what it is, though. I'm just being salty. 1 and 2. Then we played round 4. Levai was against a local, Armin, one of my locals at the end games. Played the matchup a lot. In general, and against Armin, actually. I just played Armin in a ProQuest, same matchup a week prior. I normally feel pretty good in Levia. It can be really tricky. You have to almost have a little bit of a life lead on Levia going into the teens and the single digits, because they're going to flip. And in my experience, I've found that they can't. It's really hard for them to play for the consume flip, just because of all the reactions I have in flick knives. It's very difficult. So I normally try to make them go redeemed. And when you do that, you want to be ahead in damage, because they're going to heal, which Armin did. We were both I was at 9 or something like that, and he was at 3. And I was at like 13, 14, and he was at like 3. And I knew I had to take some damage to be able to play like E-Strike into Rob the Rich or something, because I knew he was going to play something on his turn and then flip and go to 8. So I was like, I need to pressure his life total next turn in order to win. So I ended up doing that. That game, I ended up banishing a Blood Rush and bottoming his Art of War twice, which is a really big deal in that matchup. So won that one towards the end, but super close game. So I'm 2 and 2 now. Round 5, we play Kayo. My opponent was super nice, dude, but seemed to, I don't want to say cocky. It wasn't cocky. Wrong word. He was very confident, right? I don't think he's ever played against an Arachne that frankly, like, knows what they're doing. Because he was half blocking a lot of things or like not blocking a lot of things. And then there was one key play where I played Eradicate for 4 and he blocked 2 of it. And I shredded it. Yeah, I shredded it. And then like Conceal Blade or something like that. I ended up banishing 5 cards. I made 4 silver. And I was able to bottom his Blood Rushes twice. So like I just had complete control of that game. I mean, complete control. Excuse my cat. They decided they want to be a part of the video. So yeah, ended up doing that and just had pretty much complete control of that game the whole time. Ended up winning that. So now we are 4-2 or 3-2. Sorry. And then we played a Teklovossen. It was against teammate and a friend, Zach, on Righteous Gaming. Teklovossen is really weird because, like, number 1 for me is banish Singularity, right? That's step 1. But you still don't win when you do that. It just makes it more winnable because they can't, play for that end game that they just win on. Because they can still just, like, play about 4 Evos, and if they're really disciplined with their equipment blocks, they're able to just like play all the overpower attacks, which, yes, you have a lot of reactions like Cut to the Chase and Shred and stuff like that, but you're wanting to use those offensively, right? So sometimes it's really hard to block those out. So I banished Singularity on like turn 5, which was really huge, right? But then he started doing the onslaught of overpower attacks, and he was being really smart because I banished a couple of his like key, like I banished 1 Terminator tank and 1 Annihilator engine and 1 of the War Machines, I think. Not 1 War Machines. An Annihilator engine and Terminator tank. But he had a Terminator tank in his grave, and we both were like trading life. And the problem with that is if they're really disciplined and smart and they don't arsenal on purpose, because if you play Codex, they're gonna go get a Terminator tank, which is really bad for you, right? So there was like 3 turns where he wasn't arsenaling on purpose, or at least it seemed to be he wasn't, and I had to like basically pitch away Codex. Couldn't play it. I almost had to IP myself because I knew I had to keep that for late game. And then we got down to the very end, and I was on 4 cards. He was on 2, and I was able to play a last-ditch effort for 7 go again into Dagger, into Codex for Rob the Rich, and he had to block with everything in order to stay alive, and he only had a standing order in Arsenal. And then he played standing order for 5. I was at 5 life or 3 life, something like that. Yeah, 3 life. I blocked 3, took 2 down to 1, and then was able to dagger him down because he had no cards left in deck. So super close game. Ended up taking that. So now we're 4-2 going into the last round. We can't make top 8, but there's a chance we can make top 16 if we win. Which honestly, 5-2, top 16, sick. And I finally played a Prism on my last round, and I went first that game. And generally on that first turn, I made a mistake. I should have done anyway. But I drew in 4 reds. I drew in an Inertia Trap, Razor Reflex, Rob the Rich. What I should have done, just to make sure there's no shenanigans, I should have pitched I think looking at what I wanted to do is I wanted to Arsenal and Inertia Trap, right? I'm playing a little bit for fatigue in that matchup. It's nice to have a D-React. I should have just pitched away Razor and Rob the Rich and daggered and then said moved end and then made them decide if they wanted to play an aura, and if they did, then I just dagger again and kill the aura, and if they say no, then I just Arsenal anyway. But I didn't do that because I had 4 reds. I just played Rob the Rich, and I was like, God, please don't have a Genesis turn 1. They blocked 3 of it, and the funny thing is when I threw the Rob the Rich, I looked at the top of their deck, it was an Arclight Sentinel. I was like, okay, bottom this, they're going to block this. They didn't block it out. They blocked 3 of it, took 2, banished top card of their deck. It wasn't an Arclight at this point, and then they played a Genesis. And I was like, mother. So they had Genesis turn 1, and then their turn 1, they played Tome and Divinity after, putting a card in Soul with Genesis. So I was screwed there. We had to end up fast-forwarding late game. They had, they had Erudition flipped and out. They had Protection out but not flipped. They had War out and with flipped. And then they had Genesis, Pass Mirage, and 2 Pierce Realities. As you can see, it's terrible. I had to pop Time Snap Potion just to attack their War, Figment of War, because they're just going to keep buffing, and a Genesis. But I still wasn't able to do anything. They got down to 20-ish cards, but I didn't have enough gas in order to fatigue them, because at that point, your only goal is fatigue. So we ended up being 4-3. We could have went 5-2, but it's fine. Overall, we played good. Definitely a misplay on that first turn. I should have just was disciplined and said, screw it. I'm probably not gonna get an Arsenal this turn, but I'm gonna make sure they can't play Aura turn 1. They were on lag too, by the way, not Iris. So yeah, that was it. 4-3. Overall, the deck performed really well. So I'm not gonna go through every card list. I'll tell you what I changed the night before. I went up to one more sigil just to have it. It was just space. I ended up putting 2 Ripple Aways in the deck in order to help combat Kayo. I ended up putting 2 Razors just to give me a little bit more offensive value into Kayo as well. And then I put in 2 Red Findles Fighting Spirits in order to and Time Snap to combat Prism. With Scale Peeler, or not Scale Peeler, Graven Call. I normally have him on Graven Call, but with Prism, since I'm not running a ton of poppers, my main goal was to try to aggro him down a little bit, and potentially use Graven Call to flick away and do some stuff. So nothing too crazy. Overall, the deck felt really good. The one thing I actually would probably change, to be completely honest, looking at it, I would put more 1-for-5s in. I know that sounds weird. It's like I almost would take out, where is it? Sack the Shifty or Slay a Scholars, because normally that's in this slot too, and put in yellow Annihilate the Arms. I just want more chance to make silver, because if you don't play Warrior or Ninja, Sack the Shifty or Slay a Scholar can get a little bit weird as far as like making silver, and I'd rather just have one more pitch to that yellow, but then play the 1-for-4 Annihilate the Arm to have a more chance of making silver. I think that was interesting. Last ditch effort, I never have, the funny part is I've played this in my Arachne decks before, and I've never resolved it. I resolved it twice today, which was really nice. So awesome card there. Inertia Trap. I will never in this meta go below 3 in this meta ever. It is so good, right? In all my games, like works against Levai on a Blood Rush turn, got rid of their arsenal. They weren't able to make use. In the Teklovossen matchup, it worked a ton. Every time they did, they attacked the Gatling gun for 3 or whatever. Play this, block out the 3, give them inertia. Right? They can't Arsenal and D-React. Super good. Even against Fatigue Bravo, every time they had Othos for 6, was able to give them an inertia token. There's just literally, I'm looking at my matchups here. I cannot see a matchup where this did not help. So definitely run 3 of these. Without a doubt, nothing crazy. There's a lot of Kano at our event. I know the top 8, if I remember correctly. Let me look at it really fast for you. Top 8 was 2 Kanos, 3 KOs, a Victor, an Azalea, and a Bolton. And I think the final was Majin Bay on Kano versus the KO. I don't know who won it, but that was the final. So there wasn't a lot of Prism at my event. There was only like, I'm an arbitrary guess. I would say out of the field of like 97 people, slightly small battle hardened, I'd only say there's like 5 to 8 Prism, maybe. I'm assuming like 5 or 6. So there was a lot of KO in the room, a lot, obviously, and then a lot of just a bunch of different decks. People were playing a bunch of different stuff. So overall, 4-3 could have easily been better. My losses were just kind of, sometimes the way the game went, nothing too crazy. And my wins, I felt like I played really well. So I'm happy with the result. Obviously, you always want to do better, but I feel good about Arachne in this meta. I'm okay with it. Like, Warrior is fine. Guardian is okay if it's not Fatigue, but everyone was on Fatigue today. Prism, it sucks. I've kind of conceded the Prism matchup. You could tech your entire sideboard into Prism if you wanted to. You would give up everything else. And it's good pretty good into KO if they don't high roll. I know that sounds like kind of like, no crap, but it's the truth. Like if they don't high roll, it feels pretty good. So overall, I was happy with the deck. I feel good about it. Definitely check it out in the link down below if you want to try it out. It's a really fun deck. Highly suggest playing it. I had one person ask me, why play this deck over Uziri? And I'm going to give you an honest answer other than I just like Arachne's thematics more. I think in this heavy defense reaction and defensive meta, Uziri's flip is mattering less and less and less. And the ability to control their deck matters so much more. I'm telling you right now, if I'm playing Uziri against that Levai and against that second KO, I probably lose. Because the second KO, I bottomed their Blood Rushes twice. Against Levai, I bottomed their Blood Rush and Art of War twice. Like, preventing them from seeing their power cards is super great. Even in a Teklovossen matchup, bottoming their Evos, right? So I don't banish them away or let them use them. There's so many interesting spots where bottoming power cards. Another also against that second KO. Every time I saw a blue, you bottom it so they don't get pitch. And he even said at the end of the game, he's like, I felt like I couldn't find my blues, and I was like, it's because I was bottoming them, right? You don't get to see them. So I think Uziri's flip matters less and less. I honestly would put Uziri and Arachne in the same spot in the meta. If I did a tier list today, they would, wherever they would fall, they would both be in the exact same spot. I don't think either one is worse than the other or better than the other personally. Shakedown is nice, but the flip matters less and less right now. And I think Arachne's control style to be able to control threats in the deck of the opponent is honestly has never been as more important than it already is. So there's that. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Definitely not like a full deck tech. If you have any questions about the deck, please leave a comment down below. I will answer it to the best of my ability. Super happy with the deck. Enjoyed it a lot. Would definitely love to hear your thoughts and how your weekends went in ProQuest and stuff like that. I might go to the PTI event tomorrow, or I guess it's not PTI anymore, it's a ProQuest. ProQuest Plus event tomorrow, we'll see. I don't know what I'll play. It won't be Arachne. I'll play something different. But overall, had super fun, a lot of fun. Really excited for Mistveil, excited for the new spoilers. We'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, if you enjoy this type of content, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not me, it's totally fine. Go to another creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff so we can get more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good day.